And we are live. Let's get this other thing off there. And hey, guys, how you doing? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Somebody give me a text. Someone give me a heaven yeah in the comments. If you guys are in the room in Beaverton, then obviously you're not going to be able to I'm not going to be able to see you. So this is a different thing than we've ever done before. I'm super excited about being with you guys like this, just because of the fact that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to be with you. So this is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to just be broadcasting right there to the room. Normally I'd be there with you all on the third Thursday for the PDX REI Group Meetup. Circumstances, we had everything planned. We actually had this schedule locked in, the room space reserved. Obviously, you guys are there, I hope. How was the Chick-fil-A? Peggy picked it up. I know John George emceeing for us tonight. And I think Steve picked up water. So appreciate everybody that made it possible for us to be able to do this tonight. But circumstances that we were not expecting, unfortunately, had an untimely passing of a family member, which means that for tomorrow I have to be in North Idaho for a funeral. And so it just wasn't going to work out for us to be there with you guys in Portland tonight and then try to make it up there. So anyway, I'm glad we're able to do this, right? So if you guys are watching right now on the live stream, if somebody's watching live stream, please go ahead and drop a comment in the chat. Let me know that you can see me, you can hear me. I want to jump right into some stuff tonight that I think is going to be super helpful. And I want to give everybody an opportunity real quickly, if you're there in the room, or even if you're watching live stream, I want you guys to get out a pen and paper, and I want you to write down, listen to this, what I'm about to say, okay? Write down not the things that I say tonight, but write down if you hear something that I say that makes you think of something, okay? So in other words, I'm going to say a lot of stuff. I'm going to be shooting off my mouth here for the next 30, 40 minutes. But if I say something that makes you think of something, okay, if I say something that makes you think of something, write that down. That's how you get good notes, okay? So I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Hey, there's Misty. She's on. She says she can hear and see us. Cool. Sherry says Instagram is working today. That's perfect. Good, good, good. So far, so good. We've got audio, we've got video, we've got streaming, and we've got a bunch of folks sitting in a room there in Beaverton. I hope you guys are having a great time. And I know you're going to hang out afterwards and just network and get to know one another. And if there's any visitors or anything like that, if this is your first time, just remember this is not how we normally do it. Normally, I'd be there with you all on the third Thursday. And right before I get into the presentation, I'm going to be sharing my screen here in just a minute. But before I get into the presentation, I want to say this. If you are in the Boise area, so if you're anywhere in southern Idaho, love to have you come out for an live in-person meetup. We're going to start doing our monthly meetup for the TV REI Group, Treasure Valley Real Estate Investors Group. We're going to be doing that live here on February 5th. So it's going to be, we're going to be looking at doing third Thursdays in Portland, every first Thursday in the Boise Treasure Valley area. So, okay, guys, I want to jump into the presentation tonight and let you guys get to your networking and what you came to do. And I'm going to share my screen here, see if we can figure this out. This is the first time we've done it like this. So I'm going to share this screen. There you go. You guys can see that slide, right? Slide number 1, and discover your investor DNA. The reason I wanted to go over this tonight, by the way, if you guys are in the chat, if you're watching on the live stream, you're going to have to help me out. If something freezes or pauses or I just disappear, you guys, if you can, let me know, because I won't be able to tell if the folks in the room there are still with us or not. So, but I wanted to go over this because of the fact that I am a big, big believer in the fact that who you are, okay, get this, who you are, it speaks louder than what you do, okay? Now, there's a principle, and many of you have heard about this, but this principle it's the be, do, have principle, okay? Now, here's what's interesting is you might have heard this principle from someone like a Tony Robbins or a Myron Golden or some other type of kind of motivational, inspirational speaker, maybe from some kind of a psychologist. It's really an interesting thing that this concept is talked about so loudly, and yet you know where you find this principle in its very, very earliest conceptions? You actually find it in the book of Genesis. If you have a Bible at home, I highly suggest you go home tonight, maybe tomorrow, open up the first chapter of the book of Genesis, And you'll see this creation account. And then I think it's in chapter 2, you'll see this phrase that's given. God gives this phrase. He says this to mankind. He says, be fruitful, multiply. The implication is do multiply, do replenish the earth. And he says, and have dominion over it. And so what we have is directly related to what we do, right? So if you don't do anything, you're probably not going to have much. We get that, right? We all understand you got to get out there and hustle. You got to do stuff in order to get what it is that you're hoping to obtain in life, right? Life doesn't just come along and just hand you everything on a silver platter. It hasn't done that for me yet. I don't think it's probably done that for you. And if you're here on this live stream, if you're watching this later, or if you're in the room here tonight with everybody, then you probably understand that all of that, the things that we do, whether it's networking, whether it's going out making offers, whether it's learning real estate investing, all the stuff that we do is because we're wanting something that we don't currently have. So interested, we have to do certain things in order to obtain or to have the things we want. But what's crazy about it is that a lot of people, they spend their time on the doing part and the learning that part, but they don't, so they can have, but they don't actually take the time to really think about and grasp and try to understand the being part. So being informs doing, and doing is connected to what we have. And so that principle is true in so many things in life, and it's absolutely true in the area of real estate investing, especially as it comes to an investor. And so I want to talk tonight about discovering your DNA, your investor DNA, that is, and why it's so important. By the way, if you guys, some of these slides are going to be kind of wonky. You guys, some of you know, if you join us on our regular Tuesday talks that we have every Tuesday afternoon, you know that I am not the most technologically advanced. I am a one-man show over here, streaming live from my office. And I've told you guys this before, but if you could see my office, you would be, it's precarious right now. Okay. So everything is stacked and there's stuff everywhere and I'm not super organized. And that's reflected in my slides here tonight. So just bear with me. You guys be patient with me. Okay. So we're going to go through this. If the slide looks a little weird, then just take it as, yeah, that's John. It's not a specialty. Okay. But I want to talk about this because some of you guys you feel like you're stuck, right? Somebody said, I feel like I'm stuck like Chuck in a pickup truck. And that's not necessarily because you're not doing things. You're not lagging in real estate because you're lazy. You're not stuck because you're not smart. So there are ways that, some people are stuck on stupid, but that's probably not you. You're not stuck because you're not smart. You're miserable in what you're endeavoring to do because you're misaligned. Okay, so one of my business coaches says this all the time. He says, Myron Golden says, you have to get in alignment with your assignment. And so the assignment that you have, whether it's, then that's the doing part, has to be in alignment with who you are. Okay, so raise your hand. And you guys, I can't see you, but raise your hand if this has ever been your situation. Okay, and a quick audience check-in here. Again, I told you that font is just terrible. I don't know what in the world happened to my computer, but anyway, raise your hand if you've ever tried multiple strategies. Anybody like that? I'm going to raise both hands. I mean, how many times have we done? You try to do everything, right? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then, sometimes here's what's actually sad about that. Sometimes you're chasing every little shiny object, and some of the worst things that can happen is you actually make money doing it, right? You make money. What I mean by that is it's not like it's wrong to make money, but sometimes you make money doing something that just happened to work. But after you've done it for a while, you're like, man, this is not what I like doing. I'm not digging this at all. Ever been like that? If you guys know some of the multiple ways of making money in real estate, then you understand there's a lot of things you can do in real estate to make money. No doubt about that. But just because you make money doing it doesn't necessarily mean it's always something you want to do, right? So some of us are just like, hey, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up, right? Curtis says, I'm just a wholesaler. Curtis, don't say I'm just a wholesaler. Okay, we'll talk about this in a minute. But just being a wholesaler, no, I say I'm a wholesaler. That's what I do, man. We flippers, good flippers. We love a good wholesaler. So glad to have you here tonight, Curtis. Sherry says, yep, shiny object syndrome is expensive. That's absolutely correct. Sometimes you're in the middle of a room like where some of you guys are tonight in the room there in Beaverton, PDX REI Group Meetup. Sometimes you're in these events, you're at these places, and you're like, oh, this is really cool. It's exciting. I'm glad I'm here. But you still haven't really felt like you've figured out where your place is. Can anybody relate to that? Can I get a witness? Can I get an amen, right? here's what I wanted to say is that the hustle culture, and by the way, hustle, the doing part is absolutely something that is a part of what we have to do, right? Hustle is important. In other words, you're not going to get anything, like I said, it's not going to be handed to you, but the hustle only works when it's in alignment with who you are, what you do. Okay. So um, I want to talk about this whole concept because from my own experience, I can tell you guys that I have been a busy little boy for the last 10 years in the real estate space, and I have done it just about all. Okay. So I won't go into the whole entire story tonight, but most of you, if you're regular at our meetups or if you come out on the Tuesday talks, you've heard me talk about my accidental flip, right? This is where 2015, I bought an old fixer house, got a little bit of help from my wife's grandpa, and he actually funded the money we needed to actually make the purchase. And it was an off-market property. It was a distressed seller. It was kind of a classic one of those situations, downtown Beaverton. And we ended up buying it. The idea was we're going to buy it. We're going to get it fixed up. I'm a contractor by trade. I was working as a contractor out at Intel at the time as well while we were pastoring. I was pastoring a little church in Hillsboro. And so really busy, but we're like, hey, this is our chance to get back in the home ownership game. We had lost a house, or we come really close to losing it. I had to do a short sale in 2009 down in Florida when I was living down there in Pensacola. If any of my Pensacola peeps are on, you guys give us a shout out. Feel free to jump on and say hello. But I was in Florida. We lost our house in 2009. Had to do a short sale. Lost about $50,000 worth of equity. Well, about $80,000 of equity and about $40,000 in invested money that we put into it. So we had been like renting. We really wanted to be a homeowner again. So now it is 2015. We've got this house. We're working on it. The idea is fix it up, get it ready to go, and then refinance it, and then pay Grandpa back, and we can have a house to live in again. Well, we were almost done with the house, and a lady came by, knocked on the door. Long story short, she begged us to sell the house. I threw out a number I thought was ridiculous. She said yes. Bada boom, bada bing, bada bang. We are now in the flipping business, right? I told my wife, I said, I think we did that, what they do on TV, like those flipping shows or whatever. So we flipped the house. We never lived in it, and we made all of our money, paid Grandpa back, plus interest, plus recovered all of our money into it, and we had a pretty big chunk of money sitting in our bank account at the end of it. And so I looked at my bank account, and I looked at the timeline involved and said, man, I did this on accident and made as much money in 6 months on evenings and weekends working on this one flip as I made the entire year working at Intel. And so something clicked. It was like, hey, I could do that. If I could do it on accident, then surely I could do it on purpose. So I dove all in. I mean, I went all in. And I went all in on flips. I did multiple flips. I actually did it backwards. I started doing flips, and then I started marketing, and then I was paying for Google ads, pay-per-click leads. And what I found out is that I was getting leads on properties that I just really didn't want to flip. But I found out that maybe some other people want to do. So I kind of accidentally stumbled into wholesaling. Along the journey of our real estate endeavors, I got into doing Airbnb arbitrage. If you guys are familiar with that, is where you basically take a house or a property that's not yours, but you get a master lease on it, and then you sublease it out on an Airbnb platform. By the way, you want to make sure that's okay with the owners. I found out that the hard way. But the point is, I mean, I flipped a 12-unit apartment complex in Hillsboro, made buku bucks. Some of you guys have seen my slide on that. Made really good money. Did land deals, everything. I just did everything. And what I thought was this. What I thought was being busy doing deals was what I was supposed to be doing. I just thought, man, the more stuff I do, the more I'm into, the better it's going to be, right? And everything kind of changed or came to a head when one day, it was after morning church service. I had to rush over to one of the units because my regular cleaner couldn't make it. And I'm there with my wife. I've got my suit and my tie on from church. The kids are in the car. They're kind of like, waiting in the car. We got my wife with me. She's got her Sunday best dress on, and we're up there and we're changing bed sheets. And I'm scrubbing down a toilet because we got another guest scheduled to come in around 3 o'clock that afternoon. And they'd already said they wanted an early check-in. And we're over there scrubbing, and we're making this bed. Now, I'll never forget this, okay? I'm there in that bedroom. And I'm just thinking, let's get this done so we can go get lunch or whatever. And my wife is kind of, fluffing the sheets. You guys know how, she's doing it the right way. And she's fluffing the sheets and she's looking across. She's giving me that, that stare, right? Just looking right across, at me. And I'm like, uh-oh, what's happening? And she asked this question: what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Boy, I can remember that look on her face. I can remember that question. I remember right where I was standing. I remember the kind of plush carpet, kind of a cream colored carpet in that room, the gray bed sheets. Um, I remember that moment very vividly because of the fact that it occurred to me in that moment that when my wife asked me, "What are we doing here?" And of course, you guys know what she meant by that, right? Some of you ladies probably understand that better than some of us guys. But she was basically like, "What what are we doing with our life, right? How in the world has it come to this? We're here on a Sunday afternoon after church service. We're over here changing out sheets and scrubbing toilets, and I'm wiping up. Well, I'm not going to get into it. So anyway, if you ever done Airbnb cleanup, sometimes you find interesting stuff. So we're doing that, and it had to be done, and the cleaner didn't make it, and it was kind of like the thought occurred to me: is this really what we want to be doing? Is this what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? Is this really the kind of real estate investor that I want to be? Someone that's just kind of running from thing to thing to thing. And it just kind of occurred to me in that moment that I need to start finding out what it is that was the thing for me. Okay? And this goes back to that principle that being is supposed to precede doing. So I believe that we're all created by design. Okay. You can believe whatever you want to. It's America. That's the beautiful thing. America is a semi free country. You can believe whatever you want to believe. But I personally believe that we're created by God. And I believe that God doesn't create anything without purpose. And so he has design in mind. And so whenever he designed and built us, when he created us, he built you for a certain task. He built you a certain way. And I believe that understanding that, whether you believe that you were created by God or not, the principle is absolutely still true that your being is going to have to inform your doing. And a lot of us have the doing part mixed up, and this actually spills over into how we do business in real estate. Okay. And what I mean by that is this: if you aren't aware of how you function and how you best think, then you're not going to be able to really know where you're at in the business that we're doing. So you're like, hey, I'm trying this and I'm trying that. And by the way, I'm not saying that that's wrong in the sense of like it's nice to have a little bit of experience doing everything. But that day that my wife asked me that question, what are we doing here? By that time, frankly, I've been doing a lot of stuff and I've been super busy. And now I dragged my wife into it. Not that she wasn't involved anyway, because it's a family affair, right? It's a team effort, regardless if your wife is and your spouse is right there with you, or she's just kind of like, or he's just kind of like, hey, you do your thing, and I'm not against you. Either way, when she asked that question, I was like, man, what are we doing here? So I began to kind of start thinking about this and really looking into this. And I come across, I call it 7 investor archetypes. So if you guys are with me, by the way, if you're with me in the chat, someone say hello. I'm just going to check the chat real quickly. Oh, Curtis says, I said the same thing in a meeting last year, Beaverton. You said the same thing. So, well, Curtis, don't say I'm just a wholesaler, bro. You're not just a wholesaler. I'm going to keep saying it. Andy Bauman's down in Tampa, Florida with Pace Morby tonight. I think he flew or drove all the way down there. He's hanging out with Pace for a couple days on the big tour. He says, if anyone is stuck, reach out. I'd love to help you where you're at in your journey. I love that. Thank you, Andy. Sherry, okay, you're still with us. Everything's still good. Thank you. Thanks for that little check-in. Okay, let's look at these 7 investor archetypes. And I want to just kind of go through these real quickly, but I want to give you guys a chance to write this down and think about this. Take a picture of the screen, whatever it is that works for you, because I think that this is probably something that will be really helpful. At least I believe it should be. And if it's not, then, we'll just carry on in a few minutes and pretend like you never hear it. But I think this will be helpful for you. Let's look at these 7 different archetypes. So what I mean by that is I believe that there's different types of real estate investors. Okay. There's different types. In other words, if you are frustrated in your real estate journey, if you feel like you're not making progress, if you feel like you just keep on going around in a circle, it might be because you haven't really identified what is my investor DNA? Like what kind of investor am I? Okay. So let's look at this first one here. All right. You guys ready to look at this first one? Come on, put your hands together real quick. Give me a thumbs up, virtual thumbs up. I can't see you guys in the room, but I feel like I just got a big thumbs up from the crowd in Beaverton. So let's go to first one. Okay, the first one is what I call the deal maker. Okay. This is somebody who their core drive, like at your essence, this is what you love doing. You love connecting and negotiating deals, right? It doesn't matter if it's with a seller, it's probably where it will start. With a distressed home seller, it doesn't matter if it's with finding a partner for a deal or finding just kind of leveling up. You just love finding and making the deals. Okay. Now, this is probably going to fit what's going to that's the being part, right? Now, the doing part is probably going to come across in some way, shape, or form like this. Probably going to be wholesaling. In other words, let's look at the opposite of this. If you're like, I hate negotiating, oh, I hate the idea of having to be responsible for figuring out how to make this thing work. I just want to have the thing. Well, then you're probably not a deal maker. And guess what? That's okay. That's totally okay. All right. So if you're a deal maker, then why is wholesaling probably going to fit and be in alignment with what you're doing, with what you do? Because in wholesaling, a deal maker ends up a lot of times like just going rapid fire, right? You kind of like call it kill the buffalo, right? You kill the buffalo and you lose interest as soon as the ink hasn't even dried yet on the contract, and you're just like, I'm done, right? By the way, you guys understand that there's a whole lot more that goes into it than just getting that initial handshake, right? And getting that initial yes is not the end of the process. You know what's crazy about it is it took me forever to figure this out. I was out there doing deals, negotiating stuff. By the way, I tend to be a little bit more of the deal maker guy. Okay. This is kind of my archetype, right? This is how I tend to look at things. I'm actually a pretty good at finding and negotiating deals. I can get good deals under contract, which, by the way, if you have this, if this is who you are, I mean, you are doing really, really well because a lot of people don't have this. And so I know for me, it's not a matter of, man, I can't find any deals. It's a matter of I got so many deals, I don't know what to do with all of them. Okay, good problem to have, right? But here's the problem that comes with being a deal maker is if you don't watch out, number one, you can burn out, you can overcommit on things, you can say yes, yes, yes to everything when some things you should say no to. And here's the other thing is stuff can get really messy if you don't have a good partner to kind of pick up the other end of the load and say, hey, I'm really good at paperwork. I don't really want to talk to people, but you bring me a deal and you bring me a signed contract. I know exactly what to do with it. I can move it through the process. I can get it over to the title company. We call that a transaction coordinator. It could just be some kind of in the book Rocket Fuel. If you guys haven't read Rocket Fuel, I highly recommend it. He talks about there's two different types. There's the visionary, and then there's the integrator. The integrator is there's the person that takes everything that the visionary has. Like they're always coming up with these crazy ideas. Then they take that and make it actually work. Okay, so that's a deal maker. You got to watch out for burnout from overcommitting. Then there's the wealth builder. I've met every one of these archetypes, and that's why I believe I can speak with a little bit of authority on this. The wealth builder, what they're really looking at is they're looking at long-term growth and security. Okay. So they're not really looking for just a deal. I got to get into a deal. I got to get my first deal. They're not looking at that. They're looking at where can I put my money in a place and park it. It's kind of going to go through the process. It's going to just kind of do the thing, and it's going to make me money. Doesn't matter if it's they typically are looking longer. So they're not necessarily worried about having a big cash payday right now. They're looking more long-term wealth, growth, security, buy and hold buyers. These are really good for that. They're going to hold rentals. They might even be involved in some syndications where they're just putting their money into a bigger pool of money and someone else is out there negotiating the deal, watching over the contractors, all that stuff. Now, here's the thing you have to watch out for if you are a wealth builder. You have to watch out for this thing called analysis paralysis, right? The analysis paralysis is real. And you can miss out on good deals. And I know many people that are wealth builders that kick themselves because they overanalyzed, they were so slow that they missed out on stuff. And so you have to be careful. If this is the type of person you are, then you got to be careful. That's right. Rocket Fuel Sherry says. That's exactly right. It's such a good book. Okay, let's keep moving through this, right? By the way, if this is resonating with you guys, like I said, feel free to just give me a thumbs up in the chat. Let me know this is, even if this is something that kind of resonates, feel free to reach out, say something. Let's keep going through this. Now, this one is the Opportunity Scout. Okay, number 3, we have the Opportunity Scout. This is someone who they're really, really curious, right? It might not even necessarily be that they are real estate investors per se, but they just have that natural curiosity and that ability to spot trends early on, and they can kind of see stuff. I have a really good friend who, I'm not going to say his name, but I have a really good friend in the Beaverton, Aloha area who I remember him telling me about some property in a certain area. If you guys are familiar with Beaverton, Hillsboro, all that corridor where all those data centers are in there now. So kind of from the Top Golf west, right alongside the I-26 or the Highway 26 corridor, back when all that was still farm. I remember him telling me, he's like, John, anything you can find in there, buy it. And I was like, okay. I mean, it was big kind of acreages, and I was, I was a deal maker, right? So I was like, I didn't really see it. But what he knew is he knew about the future of the zoning, and he knew that there was some changes coming there, and they were going to put that into industrial, and it was going to be for tech, and he knew about the data companies, and he just kind of knew what was going on. And so those opportunity scouts are really, really good at knowing how to actually get in there and find out the trends, know how to kind of make things happen. Now, here's the thing you got to watch out for, because everybody's got their kryptonite, right? The shiny object syndrome. You can think that something is really, really good, and it's actually maybe not as good as you hoped it would, right? So these are the people that are kind of, they're kind of out there. They're a little bit edgy. They have some cool stuff, but sometimes they have stuff that doesn't work out very well at all, and it kind of disappoints, all right? Okay, let's keep on moving here. We got the hands-on operator. This is number 4. We're talking about the different investor archetypes, right? What kind of investor are you? You got the hands-on operator. This is someone who's, they'd probably be defined in the Rocket Fuel book as the integrator, right? They're really, really good about building systems, fixing things, right? They like on-site action. They are the kind of people that are just, they want to be out there. They want to see. They want to go out there and feel it. They're in the middle of the mix, right? They've got, this is kind of me too. Like I had a long time, for a long, long time, I had a problem with delegating. And I still do. I still struggle with this. So I'm telling you guys, true confessions of a 10-year real estate investor. So I have a little bit of a tendency to want to get in and put hands on. And part of the reason why this is for me is because I love being able to get in and fix something or just build it real quick. As a kid, I grew up building houses with my dad, so framing houses. And the thing I loved about framing, I've done all the disciplines, I've done all the trades, I've been in every different aspect of construction you could think of. I love framing because of the fact that you could show up in the morning, you open up the tool trailer, you roll out the tool, the compressor, you throw on your tool belt, and you get out there, the nail guns, and I mean, it's saws going and compression and boards going up. And by the end of the day, you can have what resembles a house there. Now, it may not have the siding, and it's not, of course, livable, but I love the fact that you can get out when framing, you can build something that you can see, that you know, okay, that's there, and I put my hand on that, I built it, right? Any of you guys that are experienced or gals are experienced in construction, especially with framing, you know that this is like a big, big plus. So the problem with doing that, you got to watch out, is watch out for getting stuck in your business. Instead of working on the business, you're working in the business, and you're there every day and you're showing up, and there's other stuff that you really probably could be doing better, and or at least share that load a little bit or manage the doers. That's really going to be. Now, if you're a flipper, if you're just like, I don't want to learn how to do marketing, I don't want to learn how to find good deals, I just want to go out there and flip a house. I just talked to a guy yesterday morning, and he was like, he's in nursing. He has a little bit of money, so liquid cash to invest. And he says, He goes, I'm probably going to regret this, but I really just want to do a flip. And so I'm looking right now, by the way, if you guys have any that northeast, inner northeast neighborhoods, that's kind of where he's wanting to go. So if you guys have any deals out there, any wholesale deals, if you're a deal maker and you're out in that area, or you know of any upcoming trends that would be good to hop on, let me know, right? Because I might be a buyer for you. So I'm helping this guy figure it out. Like, okay, you want to get in there, get your hands dirty, smash your thumbnail on the hammer and deal with the subcontractors. Okay, that's a hands-on operator type, and that's totally fine. Totally fine. You're like, man, well, maybe should I be learning about wholesaling? Should I learning about Airbnb? No, if this is who you are, then get out there and do you. You do you, boo, right? That's how we're talking about tonight. Okay, now the connector. The connector is someone who they're really, really good at, well, obviously connecting, right? They're good at networking. They know how to build relationships. These folks, they don't always start out in capital raising, but they almost always end up in capital raising. These are the people that kind of know how to walk in a room. They can find out who has money. They know who is the real mover and shaker. Who they can look at a room of 100 people and they know exactly the 3 people that they need to talk to. Why? Because they just understand that connection, right? They understand that person, and they can see it all. They can put it all together, and they're really, really good at networking. They're really good at doing joint ventures. Maybe they're the kind of people that everybody just wants to get to know, and they're always like, yeah, do you know so and so? And yeah, I know them. Oh, I know that guy. I know her, and always doing that. And that's a huge, huge value and an asset. But here's what you have to watch out for. You got to watch out for lack of focus. What do I mean by that? Maybe you're really good at talking to everybody, and that's exactly the problem as well as the blessing, right? If you're really good at talking to everybody and you always find some reason to connect with somebody, because you never know, that one person, that waiter at the table, it wasn't just the high end people and the people with the money, it's to everybody, right? And you just connect and you see people and you understand and you value the relationships and the conversation, and you just kind of have a natural tendency to be that person that just plugs in and just really listens and builds bonding relationships. I have a daughter who's like this. She's 20 years old, and good night. If you guys know my daughter Olivia, she's just like, she can connect with them. It doesn't matter if they're, 93 years old or 9-year-old. She's able to connect with them. Now, here's the issue: is you've got to watch out, because if you are just doing that all the time, then and you're not super hyper vigilant on being focused on what am I actually trying to connect for? What is the purpose here? What is it that I was supposed to be doing before I had this amazing conversation with the person that checked my air pressure at Les Schwab's, right? You have to be careful about setting boundaries for yourself, making sure that you're not being used by people. There's a whole bunch of stuff. But if you're really good at making connections, man, capital raising is something that might be a good fit for you. Now, here's the analyst. Okay, here's for some of you engineers out there, right? Where are my engineers at? You guys, if we got engineers on, you guys let us know, right? You send us something nerdy. So an analyst is somebody who they're probably not going to be out picking up a hammer anytime soon. They're probably not going to be doing any wholesaling. They're not going to be getting out there and doing a bunch of wheeling and dealing. They love the numbers, right? They love the numbers. They just love numbers. They love the research. They love, getting into all the details. I don't want to call him out, but this is when I think of like an analyst, somebody that I think of is Michael Kim. Now, I'm not saying that that's who he is. That's the only thing he can do. When I think about Michael Kim, I think about somebody who just, man, he's able to think about the numbers. He knows how to he knows all the little nuances and stuff and the underwriting, and he just knows and he's constantly learning new things about that, right? And due diligence. And so, by the way, everybody needs to know a good analyst. If you are a deal maker, if you're somebody that's actually having a real part of real deals, you want to make sure you have somebody that you can say, hey, take a look at this and let me know what you think. I'll give you guys an example right now. Right now, I've got a deal I'm working on that seems to be like, it just seems to be like one of those once in a lifetime opportunities. It's a huge portfolio. I think there's like 14 properties. I mentioned this, I think, sometime recently on Tuesday Talks. But here's the thing: the owners they want to work with me. They want to sell to me. They're elderly. They need to sell, and I'm wanting to do it, but I am not that strong. The analyzation is not my strong suit. So you know what I do? I'm bringing these deals, these numbers, I'm bringing the addresses and the bedroom, bathroom, and what I think the cost is. I'm bringing that into some connections or conversations with a couple of the guys on my team. And I'm saying, guys, I want to get your feedback. I want to know what you guys think about this, because I'm one of those guys, I could say yes to just about everything, right? There's got to be a way to make a deal here. And so sometimes, yeah, maybe you could make a deal, but maybe if you just had an analyst, somebody to get into underwriting on it, it would just be like, hey, this is not a good deal. Just not a good deal. Now, I've been there before. I've done deals that just turned out to not be that good of a deal. Why? Because I'm kind of a deal maker. And you know what you got to do? You got to make sure that everybody else gets paid, everybody else gets squared up, everybody else gets what they get. But a lot of times I've taken it in the shorts a couple of times where it's like, oh man, that was terrible. I wish I would have underwritten that better. I wish I would have actually had somebody come in here and say, John, what are you thinking? So underwriting, market research, if that's your gig, if that's your thing, man, then you're probably more of an analyst, and you can do really, really well if you can get partnered up or paired up with some kind of a deal maker. Now you got to watch out for overthinking. Again, analysis paralysis. You find a reason to say no to everything, right? Because, well, I'm just not sure, and there's this, that, and the other. You got to be careful about that, because you can miss out on that. Remember, success loves what? Speed. Success loves speed. So that's the analyst. Now, here's the visionary, the builder. This is someone who really, at their core, they're focused on impact, right? These are people that are doing development. They're creating lasting projects, things that actually impact community. They're really, really good on and leadership positions. The problem they're going to have, by the way, if you guys know Pace Morby, you know that Pace is a visionary extraordinaire, right? So he is a visionary to the nth degree. I bring him up because a lot of people know who he is. And of course, he's connected to our group, and a lot of us are in some of his mentorships. The point is, a visionary, I mean, talk about building something that lasts. I mean, Pace Morby is like, I would say single-handedly, but he would protest to that because he knows that that's not how it works. But his vision has been to literally change the entire real estate culture and industry in America. And he's doing it, and he's done it already. He's made a huge impact. And so, amazingly enough, these visionaries, they're really good at. They're really good at that thing that nobody else would have thought of. They implement it, they make it happen. But if they don't get that integrator alongside them, or multiple integrators and different people in the group, right? They need the analysts, they need the connectors, they need the operators, they need the opportunity folks to find the deals, they need the wealth builders and the deal makers. They need all those people. And so, because if they don't, it's just a dream, right? It's just dreaming, no execution. It's a lot of really big ideas, but very little follow through, and just nothing seems to happen. And it always is explained away. Oh, I'm not doing that anymore. I got this other thing I'm doing. You got to be careful if you're a visionary. If you're one of those types of people, you want to find somebody that you can trust, that you give permission to them to say, hey, what about the other great idea that we had and that you brought up and we've been working on for the last 6 months? You got to have that kind of person in your tool belt. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Which one are you, right? Did any of those resonate with you? We'll go back through them again real quickly. We got the visionary, the builder, we've got the analyst, we've got the connector type, we've got the hands-on operators, right? We've got the opportunist, but I saw opportunity scouts. They're just out there just always kind of looking for different things. It might be something totally different, right? Think about ADUs and the people that first started coming up with that and really leaned into that. What a great space, right? They start, hey, the things are going to change. Zoning is going to change. A great opportunity. You got the wealth builders, right? Just slow and steady wins the race. They got rentals. They've got syndications. You got the deal makers. The question is, which type are you? Which is the one that really actually sits with who you are? Okay. Now, the reason why you want to find out which one you are, okay, by the way, drop it in the chat if you want to. Or just check real quickly. Sherry says, most connectors never met a stranger. That's right. That's right. You could just be friends with anybody instantly. Cheryl says, success loves speed. That's correct. Okay, Peggy says she's watching on YouTube right now in the room. So thank you, Peggy, for checking in on that. Let's go back to this real quickly. I want to let you guys get back to your networking, but let's finish this up. Okay, now why is it so important to identify what is my investor DNA? Which one am I really? Which one really resonates? Now, by the way, you'll probably have some crossover. Frankly, you're going to have some crossover in just about all of these. But you're going to have one of these that's going to really just like, it's going to speak to you. You're going to be like, yep, that's me. That's the one, right? Which one is it? Well, it's important to figure that out. Yeah, Peggy says connector, shiny object. That's exactly right. I love how Peggy introduces herself. She's like, I am the product of many expensive, mentorships and courses. So, yep, I'm with you on that, Peggy. But the reason why it's so important, Sherry says she's a connector, hands-on operator tendencies. Okay, there you go. Good. And that's probably then, again, Sherry, look at that. You're out there in capital raising. By the way, if you guys need capital, talk to Sherry more. She's out there in the capital raising world, and look at that. She tends to be kind of a connector. Okay, so very good. This is working, right? The reason why it's so important is because of this. I want to give you guys three quick reasons. There's a misalignment danger. Okay, and misalignment danger, it manifests itself in a couple different ways. Number one is you're chasing the wrong strategy. I told you about the situation where I'm changing out bed sheets on an Airbnb turnover on a Sunday afternoon in my church clothes with my wife there in her dress, and normally we'd be going out to lunch and hanging out with the kids, taking a Sunday nap. Amen, hallelujah. And instead we're changing out bed sheets on an Airbnb turnover in an apartment of all things. It wasn't even like a really nice big, some Airbnb is like, wow, this is really cool. This is like a little apartment in Tannisbourne right around the corner from where you guys are sitting in Beaverton right now. And I had leased it out or taken over. I'd subleased it out from some guy who was working at Intel, and he went back to India, and he just, anyway, I took over his lease and I had this all set up. It wasn't anything really fun or exciting. It was just like, got to get this done. And I realized really quickly in that moment, this is not what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. This is not how I want to make my money in real estate. You got to be careful, because if you don't understand who you are and what your avatar is, then you'll be chasing the wrong strategy. And some people chase it for a long time. It's like that U2 song, right? They still haven't found what they're looking for. Okay, so there's another danger, and that's this. It's saying yes to the wrong deals. Okay, so I've mentioned this again myself. I've been in some deals before where I'm like, oh, why did I do this? Oh, man, I've been in some deals. And it's not fun being smack dab in the middle of a deal that you're just like, oh, why did I do this? Because here's the thing. I heard a guy say it yesterday. He said, sometimes the issue isn't that, someone, like the deal wasn't that good or whatever. He said that sometimes the issue is that we ignored the little voice in our head that said, don't do this. Ever been there? Amen and oh me, right? Sometimes when you ignore that little voice that's saying, hey, don't do this. This isn't really you. I don't know. And you're kind of like, if it's just like, no, it's, it's the perfect deal. And somebody explained it and look at the numbers on this. And I just got to do it. I got to quit sitting around. Sometimes you say yes to the wrong deals, and boy, it can be a disaster. Some people never recover from this. They call them one and done flippers, right? They really weren't meant to be flippers. They weren't really somebody who was cut out for it. Or maybe they were, but they just got into the wrong deal and it just kicked their butt around the block for too long. They lost money and the market changed, and they didn't buy low enough on the front end because they believed what the wholesaler said about how much it was worth on the ARV and how the repair and rehab was going to only be, $20,000, and it turned out to be 80. There's people that don't recover from this type of disaster. So you say yes to the wrong deals. I see some names in the chat and a couple of people that I know that are there in the room tonight. Some of you have told me about some of the sticky situations you've gotten yourself into because of saying yes to the wrong deal. Or here's the next one. This can be really bad. You partner with the wrong people. Okay, wrong strategy, wrong deals, wrong people. Folks, these things are the things that they just chew up real estate investors, chew up would-be real estate investors, and they spit them out. And so if you're not careful, you can find yourself in a commitment, a partnership, an illegal agreement with property ownership and contractors hounding you for money with someone who just decides they're done. They're not going to pick up the phone anymore. You get involved with the wrong kind of people, and it can be a disaster that really has pretty epic consequences. A quick little example of that is, and this is not exactly the same thing, but I looked at a property here in the Boise area a couple months ago, and I looked at it, and then I looked at it again about a month later, and it was burned to the ground. I was like, wow, what happened? Got a hold of the owner, talked to them, and turns out that they had rented the house to somebody And, they kind of been trying to do him a favor and helping him out, get back on his feet. Well, this guy ended up owing money to somebody, and he didn't pay money to that guy. And so that guy sent over the Hells Angels, and the Hells Angels showed up at this house because that's where they knew the guy was. And he wasn't, they went there to rough him up. He wasn't there because he'd gone back to jail. Anyway, they're like, well, he's not here. We're going to pay him. They set fire to his apartment and burned the entire house down. And guess who ends up paying the consequences for it? The landlord, the owner. And why? What happened? They just misaligned with they have a heart for helping people and wanting to help, and that's just kind of, they have that heart, but they don't understand. They don't have a strategy for it. They don't have any qualifiers. They don't have anybody else helping balance things out. They said yes to the wrong person. That person was in some bad stuff. Oh no, is exactly right, Sherry. Okay, so these are some real dangers. These things happen to people in real estate all the time. Now, how do you know if you are out of alignment? There's some telltale signs. Okay, one, you're tired all the time. You're just like, I got to keep doing this because I got to stick in it. I can't give up. Boy, this is just exhausting. Listen, if you're exhausted by what you're doing in real estate right now, you're probably not doing something that is really your fit. What I mean by that is, yeah, we're all going to have times of being tired, but if you're exhausted or if you dread the deals you're looking at, like you got to go, oh, I got to go show up to that stinking flip again. And I'm out there and you're the hands-on operator that's really not, but you're stuck in that and you're out there working on a flip, right? And or you're trying to go out and raise capital and you're like, I hate going to these networking events and trying to talk to people. You see this? If you're tired, if you have no energy, if you just want out, like, why did I get myself into this, right? Why in the world did I ever watch that YouTube video? Oh, cursed be the day, right? When I found Pace Morby or, whatever else, right? And I thought, oh, real estate, get into real estate, no money out of pocket, right? It's easy, it's fun. Yeah. If that's kind of where you're feeling or that's where you're at right now, you're probably out of alignment. You probably are not doing what you are really built and best suited to do. Okay. So that's a pretty good, if your car is out of alignment, you know it, right? It's always kind of veering to one side or it's got a little shake and a wobble. If you're out of alignment in life and in your real estate investing, you're going to know it. You're going to feel it. Okay. So alignment is super important because it gives you clarity on what you're doing. And this is really, really cool. It gives you energy. Like, you love it. You're like, I can't wait to go out and do this because I love what I get to do in this space. Whereas that misalignment, it turns into chaos and drain. And you just like, I hate life. Okay. And it happens, right? Can I get a witness? I've been there myself. So it's super, super important to get this. So what I did, and this, so you guys are watching, I'm going to wind things down, but what I did at the end of 2025 is I said, man, I know there's so many people out there that are trying to figure this out. And I put together, I've almost got it done. It's coming together really, really well. And it's a how to discover my investor DNA guide. Okay. So this is a step-by-step kind of self-discovery. It's almost like, remember that choose your own adventure format, if this, then that, kind of taking that approach and really breaking down these 7 archetypes into greater detail, really helping you understand what it is that is best suited for you to do. Get this, because of who you are. By the way, if you can figure out who you are, it gives you clarity on what you do, and what you do will be more alignment with who you are. You'll get an alignment with your assignment, and it produces much, much better results. You'll have what it is what did you get into this for? Financial freedom? Yeah. Legacy? Getting debt paid off, whatever else it is. Like, if you have that vision really, really clear of what you got into this for, then you are out there doing something because you're like, I got to make something happen. But if you're doing the wrong thing, it's not going to happen. So get in alignment with your assignment. How to discover my investor DNA guide. I've got this for everybody that's watching this, everybody that's in the meetup, but here is the caveat. Okay. Now, if you're watching this live, you're not going to be able to do this, but I want you guys to go right now. If you're watching this live, before I go to the next slide, I want you guys to take a picture of this screen. Okay. Either screenshot it on your phone, or I want you guys to just take a picture of the laptop, whatever, because I've got a specific assignment for you guys if you want to get this. By the way, this isn't going to cost you money, but I'm not just going to give this away just to everybody that says, yeah, I want one. Okay, so take a picture. You guys got your picture? Did you get a picture of the screen? You take a screenshot. Okay, if you're watching live, if you didn't get the picture, I'll go back to this. But here's what I want you to do. I want you guys to get this DNA guide. I want you to take a picture. Okay, now if you're in the room in Beaverton, I want you to look around, take a picture with yourself, take a picture of the screen, take a picture of whatever's going on around you, or take a picture with somebody you meet tonight. And I want you guys, whether you took it on the screen, whether you're there in the room, I want you to post that picture right now or sometime before Saturday. I want you to post that picture you just took in the Facebook group, the PDX REI Facebook group. You say, why are you doing this? You're trying to make it hard? No, I'm trying to make you work, okay? Because if you don't work for it, then it's just a freebie. It's just like, whatever. I'm not going to charge you money. Just want you guys to work for it because I want to know who actually wants this. Okay, so take a picture, post the picture in the Facebook group, and I want you to say something specific. Hey, I'm here at the meetup, or hey, I was watching the live stream. This was really interesting. And then I want you to ask, say, John, you mentioned, tag me at John Robinson. You mentioned the DNA, investor DNA guide. I like mine. Okay. Super simple. Take a picture, post it in the group, say something about the meetup, say something about the presentation, say something about the food, say something about what you learned or what you thought of when something else was said. Ask for the guide, tag me, and I'm going to be going, everybody, you have to tag me because if you don't tag me, then I won't get the notification. Guys, I get inundated. We've got the Pensacola off-market property group. We got like almost 5,000 people in that group. We got PDX REI group, 5,200 people in there. And by the way, for the most part, I am a one-man show on all this stuff right now. Not only am I doing my own deals, but I'm also responding to all these messages. I don't have somebody that really works on that part of it with me. I have a small team that does some of the other stuff, but not the little stuff. I love reading your messages. If you don't tag me, then I won't know that you sent it. I won't be able to send you the guide. Okay. So, and then I'm going to put a deadline on this because if we don't have a deadline, then it just never happens. If you guys want to get this out in the group, take the picture, make the post, say something specific about what you learned, ask for the investor DNA guide, and make sure you tag me and get it all done by Saturday night. Okay. So the DNA guide, you guys, that's something that's available for everybody that wants it. If you're watching this right now, you guys can do the same thing. Take a picture. I think you're going to enjoy this. I think it'll be helpful. And hopefully, whether you're just getting started or whether you've been at this for a while but just really haven't found your place, hopefully those will be something that really help kind of clarify things for 2026 to be a good year for you guys. Okay, guys, remember, listen, you're not broke, you're not broken, you're not behind, you're just right where you need to be. You just got to get in alignment. Okay, you got to get things kind of squared up. It's like you're looking down, a certain thing, and when everything kind of comes into alignment, boy, it just makes so much better sense. So I appreciate you guys. I think this is going to be a really, really good thing for you guys. Let's go out there and build something together, right? Let's go out and build something together that suits you. You know what I'm doing right now? I'm building a business, and I've been finally actually kind of come into alignment with my assignment, and I'm building a business that I personally believe is going to actually really make a huge impact in a particular niche market in the entire United States. I'm super excited about it. I'm working on it. I've just been pouring into it. Some of you know what it is that I'm working on, but the point is this: I love working on this. I get energized by it. I see the opportunity. And so, but here's what's cool about it is I can't do it on my own. So I'm building it with other people. Other people are building it with me, but it's my business. It's my thing. What's cool about it is by me focusing on what I do and getting in alignment with my assignment, other people now have opportunity to come in this with me, and they're discovering and they're kind of learning, hey, I'm not really this, I'm that. And anyway, it's a beautiful thing, guys. So thank you guys for being here tonight. Thank you for all of you that come out to the PDX REI Group meetups on a regular basis. If you guys didn't get the homework assignment, just real quickly, if you want the how to discover my investor DNA guide, okay, it's not something big, it's not something fancy. Yes, I put this together based on kind of the outline you just saw there, but I think it's going to be really cool. I think it'll be helpful. If you want that, take a picture of the screen, make sure you share it and post it in the PDX REI group. Tag me, okay, at John Robinson. If you guys don't know how to tag me, then make sure you find somebody that does know how. Ask them, how do I do this? And tag me and let me know, hey, I want that how to discover my investor DNA guide. I'll put the instructions in the chat, you guys. Thanks for being here tonight. I went a little bit longer than I wanted to. I didn't want to take up all of your networking time, but I appreciate you guys. I'm super excited about 2026. I believe this is going to be a really, really good year for serious real estate investors. What I mean by serious is this: not that you're super experienced, but that you are driven, you're focused, and you are in alignment with your assignment. Okay, guys? So appreciate you being here tonight. Sherry, thank you. Thanks for joining us on the live stream. Thanks for the comments. Misty, nice to see you. Hope you're doing well in 2026. Things are working out with you and all the situation that you were dealing with last year. And Cheryl, of course, always wonderful to see you. Can't wait to hear about owners club and how it was down there. So guys, appreciate you. Thanks for being here. And if you guys didn't get the homework assignment, just ask for it. But I can't wait to see who is going to post and what pictures you're going to post. If you guys are there at the PDX REI Group Meetup, you guys are welcome to hang out. John George is going to kind of MC it. You guys know what to do. Get to know one another, exchange business information, find out who you are and how you can work with someone else, how you can add value to them. And I promise you, it's all going to work out really, really well. All right, guys. Good night. God bless. That's all I've got for you. Take care, and we will see you soon.